Dream of the Red Chamber, Chapter 56.
Okay, let's just cut right to it. We are looking at what is basically a distressed asset.
Right.
You've got this massive real estate holding the Grandview Garden, and it's just hemorrhaging cash. The leadership team is in crisis. Let's call her the CEO, is on medical leave, and an interim team has to step in and just stop the bleeding.
It sounds like a headline from, the Wall Street Journal, doesn't it?
It really does.
But we're actually deep inside Chapter 56 of Dream of the Red Chamber.
We are treating this strictly as a turnaround case study.
Yeah.
Because when you strip away all the poetry and the beautiful robes, what Tanchin, Li Wan, and Bao Chai are doing here, it's a masterclass in forensic accounting and organizational restructuring.
It really is. You've got the interim CEO, that's Tanchin. You have her sort of skeptical partner, Li Wan. And then you have the external consultant, Shua Baochai, who comes in with the big ideas. And their whole mission is to fix a budget that is completely, totally out of control.
So let's start where they do, the audit. Tanchin takes over, and the very first thing she does is look at the recurring expenses. And she finds something that, honestly, if I were a shareholder in this family, I'd be furious.
You have to be talking about the cosmetics procurement.
The procurement fraud. Let's just call it what it is.
Yeah.
Walk us through the mechanism here, because it is just a perfect example of a broken supply chain.
Okay, so on paper, the system looks pretty generous. The ladies of the household, they get a monthly cash allowance. It's 2 taels of silver, and it's specifically to buy their own hair oil, powder, that kind of thing.
Okay, and just to anchor us on the value here, because 2 taels sounds kind of abstract, what are we talking about in real terms?
Right, context is so important here. In the Jia household, a regular maid might earn, maybe half a tael a month? Maybe 1 if she's lucky.
Wow.
So 2 taels is basically 2 months of a living wage, just for hair oil. It's a significant amount of cash.
Okay, so the girls have cash, they can go buy whatever premium product they want.
Exactly. But, and this is the crazy part, Tanchin discovers that the household also has a standing purchase order with an external buyer to supply the exact same items to the girls.
So they're paying the girls to buy it, and they're paying a vendor to buy it.
Yep.
It's just straight up double spending on the same line item.
It is. But it gets worse than just redundancy. This is where you really see the principal-agent problem just flare up. The household, the principal, wants the girls to have good cosmetics. But the buyer, the agent, he just wants to maximize his own profit margin.
Because the buyer isn't the one using the hair oil.
Exactly. There's total information asymmetry. The buyer goes to the market, he buys the cheapest, probably expired, lowest quality junk he can find, charges the house full price, and pockets the difference.
And the result of that is?
The result is that the official supply is unusable trash. Pinger, the aide, she even admits that half the girls don't even touch the stuff the house buys.
So they just use their cash allowance to buy their own private stash anyway.
Right, so the house's expenditure is literally 100% waste.
It's a phantom expense. The money is leaving the treasury, but zero value is being created. So Tanchin's first move is just a hard cut.
A hard cut.
Yeah.
She eliminates that buyer role completely. Basically, she deregulates the supply chain. She says, look, you have the cash. We're going to stop sending a middleman to buy junk.
Which, that solves the agency problem immediately. The girls are now the buyers and the users. Their incentives are finally aligned with quality.
Precisely. But that's just cost containment. That's playing defense. Tanchin wants to go on the offensive. She wants to monetize the asset.
The garden itself.
The garden. And this epiphany comes from what we call a benchmark analysis. Tanchin visits the Lai family. Now, the Lai family are technically servants to the Jia family, but they have their own little estate. And Tanchin notices something that just really bothers her.
The discrepancy in ROI.
A huge discrepancy. The Lai family garden is, maybe half the size of the Grandview Gardens, not as lush, not as well-stocked. But the Lai family manages to generate 200 taels of silver a year in revenue from it.
Okay, context check again, 200 taels.
That's a massive sum. That's like the annual salary of a mid to high-ranking government official.
So finding 200 taels in your backyard is like finding a Ferrari salary hidden in your landscaping budget.
Exactly. And Tanchin looks at her own garden, which is twice as big, and realizes it's generating 0.
Actually, less than 0, right? It's generating negative returns because of all the maintenance costs.
Right. She sees the Lai family is selling everything, surplus flowers, bamboo shoots, fish, shrimp. They've monetized their entire ecosystem.
And this leads to that great line she has about the withered grass.
Yes. She says, I just learned that a broken lotus leaf or a withered grass root, they are all worth money. In her garden, those things are trash to be swept up by paid laborers. Outside, they're commodities.
So she has the data, she has the benchmark, she knows she's sitting on a gold mine, but then she hits a wall. And it's not a financial one, it's a cultural one.
And this is probably the most critical part of the whole chapter. It's this clash between, Confucian idealism and pure economic pragmatism. Tanshan hesitates. She basically says, if I start talking about selling bamboo shoots and vegetables, won't I look like a peasant? Won't I seem vulgar?
Right, because in this society, there's this really strict hierarchy. Scholars and officials are at the top. Merchants, profit seekers, the Shang class, they're way down at the bottom. Tanshan is terrified of lowering her status.
She is genuinely afraid that by engaging in management, she's debasing herself. And this is where Shu Baochai steps in. If Tanshan is the CEO, Baochai is the chief strategy officer who provides the philosophical cover for the whole restructuring.
Baochai is so fascinating here because she uses the classics against Tanshan's hesitation.
She totally does.
Well,
Tanshan tries to take the high road. She quotes the philosopher Jizi, saying something like, those who get into profit and strategy turn their backs on the way of Confucius and Mencius.
Which is a very fancy way of saying real leaders don't care about money.
Right. But Baochai sets this beautiful trap. She looks at Tanshan and she asks, okay, that's a nice quote, but what is the next sentence in that text?
I love this moment because Tanshan just freezes.
She freezes because she knows the next line totally contradicts her point.
Yeah.
The next line in that commentary basically argues that if you don't manage your household affairs properly, you're a fool.
So Baochai just flips the whole script. She argues that scholarly behavior isn't ignoring money, it's managing it intelligently.
Exactly. Her framing is, unusable things do not exist. If you use your intellect to organize the garden, that is high culture. If you just greedily grab for cash without a system, that is what's vulgar. She validates the profit motive by wrapping it in the language of responsibility.
So, okay, they've cleared the philosophical hurdle. Now they need an actual plan. Tanshan has a few options. I mean, she could just rent the garden out to local farmers, right? Just lease the land.
She thinks about it, but rejects it immediately. Bringing in outsiders, tenant farmers, would breach the privacy of the women's quarters. It's a security risk and, a dignity risk.
So she has to insource it.
She has to. So she looks at the labor force she already has, the elderly women, the maidservants who live right there in the garden, and she proposes it's effectively a contract responsibility system. Tanshan decides to parcel out the garden. One woman gets the bamboo grove, another gets the rice paddies, someone else gets the vegetable plots.
And what are the incentives?
This is the key. They don't pay rent. Instead, they're responsible for the upkeep. They have to provide a small quota of produce to the household, sort of like a tax. But anything they produce above that quota, they get to keep and sell for their own profit.
That is a massive shift. Before this, these women were just paid a flat wage to clean. They had zero incentive to make the plants grow. In fact, if the plants died, it was probably less work for them.
Exactly. Now they have skin in the game. Tanshan outlines 4 distinct benefits. First is quality. If you own the output of the bamboo grove, you are going to water it. You're going to prune it. The whole garden will look better.
Okay, second.
Preservation. You become the security guard for your patch. If it's my bamboo, I am not going to let the other maids trample it or pick it for fun.
Third is obviously welfare.
Yes. These are low-income workers. This gives them a side hustle. It rewards their hard work with actual cash, which in turn buys loyalty.
And finally, cost savings for the corporation.
The household just strikes the maintenance budget right off the ledger. They no longer have to pay external gardeners or sweepers for those areas.
It's the perfect closed-loop system. The waste becomes profit, the labor becomes motivated, and the budget gets balanced. Baochai even says something like, in 3 years, there will be no famine.
She sees the sustainability right away.
But, and there is always a but, in a household this complex, you can't just implement a new system without managing the politics of the old system.
Enter Pinger. Enter Pinger. This is the human element part of the case study. Tanshan's making all these brilliant moves, but every single efficiency she finds is an implicit criticism of the usual manager, Wang Shifeng.
Right. If I'm Shifeng and I hear that Tanshan saved hundreds of taels in one day, I'm going to look incompetent. I'm going to look like I've been asleep at the wheel this whole time.
And Pinger, as Shifeng's right hand, is standing right there in the middle of this audit. She describes herself as standing like a mouse avoiding a cat. She is terrified.
But then she does something incredibly savvy. She doesn't defend the waste. She actually validates the reform, but she reframes the reason for the waste.
This is a masterclass in managing up. Pinger speaks up and says, essentially, oh, Shifeng knew about all of this. She knew we were overspending. She knew the buyers were cheating us.
Hey, hold on. Isn't that an admission of guilt?
No, because of why she says Shifeng allowed it. Pinger argues that Shifeng didn't cut costs because she was too generous. She says Shifeng felt that for a family of this status, counting pennies on cosmetics or selling vegetables would just look stingy. She reframes Shifeng's negligence as a kind of status signaling.
That is brilliant. So Shifeng isn't stupid, she's just too noble. And Tension isn't correcting a mistake, she's just taking a different approach.
Exactly. It saves face for everyone. And Baochai sees right through this, by the way. There's this very intimate moment where Baochai touches Pinger's face and says, let me see what your mouth is made of. She totally recognizes the rhetorical gymnastics Pinger just performed.
It just completely neutralizes the political threat. If Pinger had gotten defensive or if she'd thrown Shifeng under the bus, the whole reform could have been sabotaged by infighting.
Instead, it ends in tears. And not angry tears either. Tanshin, Li Wan, and Pinger all start crying together.
Why? I mean, we're talking about accounting. Where did the tears come from?
It's the release of all that pressure. Tanshin admits that she feels totally alone. She says, I may be a young mistress, but I see the decline of this family, and I feel like I can't stop it. And Pinger admits the incredible strain of being the middle manager who takes heat from both sides. It's this moment of your female solidarity in a really hostile structure.
It's a great reminder that change management isn't just about spreadsheets. It's about navigating the egos and the insecurities of everyone involved.
Absolutely. If Tanshin had just issued a memo, it would have failed. She needed Pinger's buy-in to make it politically viable.
Okay, so the emotional air is cleared, the strategy is set. Now for the rollout. They call in the workforce, the elderly women. What's the reaction on the ground?
It's electric. I mean, you have to imagine these women usually just get orders barked at them. Now they're being offered a business partnership. They jump on it.
One woman claims the bamboo grove almost immediately.
Yes, she says, I'll take the bamboo. And I promise you, next year the shoots will be even bigger. She's already thinking about yield improvement.
And another woman takes the rice paddies. And I loved her pitch. She says, I'll manage the rice. And I'll even provide the grain to feed the birds so the house doesn't have to buy feed.
She's identifying synergies. She realizes that if she controls the rice, she can cross-subsidize the bird feed expense. These, uneducated women instantly understand vertical integration once the incentives are right.
It just proves the knowledge was always there. The efficiency was always possible. They just needed permission to use it.
That's the tragedy and the triumph of the chapter. All that talent was just sitting there, being wasted, just like the withered grass.
There's a funny little interruption right at the end, though. Just as everyone is high-fiving over the new bamboo contracts, a doctor arrives.
Yeah. A doctor shows up to see a patient in the garden. And the women, who are all excited and shouting claims for different plots of land, they suddenly realize they're blocking the pass.
And they stop.
They realize they can't just swarm the doctor. They say, wait, we need to wait for the supervisors, Wu and Shan, to lead him in.
Why include that little detail? What's the point?
It's a reality check. It shows that while this new economic system is exciting, the old feudal hierarchy still exists. They still need protocols. You can't just turn the garden into a free-for-all marketplace. It still has to function as a noble household. It shows that tension between the new contract system and the old status system.
Operations never stop, even during a restructure.
Never.
But Tanshin does have the blind spot here, doesn't she? She looks at the two fanciest places, Hengwu Court, where Baochai lives, and Happy Red Court, where Baoyu lives, and she says, what?
She basically says, well, these are useless. She laments that they have nothing to sell because it's all just residential landscaping, not orchards.
And this is where Li Wan surprises everyone.
Li Wan, the quiet widow.
The very same.
She actually laughs at Tanshin. She says something like, you're clear-headed about everything else, but you're missing the gold mine right in front of you. She points out that Hengwu Court is packed with aromatic herbs and spices.
And Happy Red Court has the roses and the medicinal flowers?
Yeah, and Li Wan breaks down the market economics. She explains that things like dried citronella, exotic spices, medicinal rose petals, they sell for way more at the tea shops and pharmacies than cabbages or rice ever will.
It's a lesson in high-value products versus commodities.
A great one.
Okay, so the audit's done. They know what the assets are. Now they need to assign a manager for those high-value flowers at Happy Red Court. And this is where we hit the nepotism trap.
This is one of the most complex interactions in the book. It really is. We need to unpack this one carefully. You have a very lucrative contract up for grabs, managing the flowers at Happy Red Court.
Right. And Pringer, who is Feng Ji's right-hand woman and usually very savvy, she suggests as a candidate.
She suggests Yinger's mother.
Okay, and for context, Yinger is Bao Chai's personal maid.
Yes. And her mother is known to be really skilled at processing herbs and weaving these intricate flower baskets. On paper, she is the perfect candidate. She has the skills, and she's close to the management team.
So it's a slam dunk, right? Just hire the expert.
You would think so, but Bao Chai immediately vetoes it, flat out.
Why? If she's the best person for the job and she's loyal to Bao Chai, isn't that a win-win?
In a modern meritocracy, maybe,
Yeah.
but in a feudal household, it's political suicide.
How so?
Bao Chai knows that if she gives a profitable contract to her own maid's mother, the rest of the household won't see merit. They will see corruption.
They'll think she's just funneling money to her own people.
Even worse, they'll think she's petty. Bao Chai literally says, I can't let that group of people look down on me for chasing small profits. Her reputation for impartiality is worth more to her than maximizing efficiency.
So what's the solution then? You can't hire the one person who actually knows how to do the job.
Bao Chai comes up with a workaround that is, it's like 4D chess. She looks for a proxy. She nominates a woman named Old Ye's mother.
Okay, who is Old Ye's mother?
She is the mother of Mingyan, and Mingyan is Baoyu's page boy.
Okay, let me check the org chart here. Baoyu's the male heir. Mingyan is his servant. So this woman is the servant's mom.
Correct. Old Ye's mother is described as honest and reliable, but she doesn't know the first thing about processing flowers.
Yeah.
However, she is very good friends with Yinger's mother, the expert.
Oh, I think I see where this is going.
Bao Chai's plan is this.
Where?
We give the contract publicly to Old Ye's mother. This looks completely fair because she's connected to Baoyu, the master of that court, not to Bao Chai. So, no accusation of favoritism.
But the work still needs to get done.
And Bao Chai says this explicitly. She can go ask Yinger's mother for help. They can split the work and the profit privately.
That is incredibly cynical.
It's so pragmatic.
Yeah.
She says, even if Old Ye's mom sits back and lets the other one do all the work, that's their private business. The household can gossip, but they can't blame us.
Wow. She creates a firewall between herself and the money.
She ensures the job gets done by the expert, but the political liability is completely neutralized. It's a masterclass in navigating a low-trust environment.
Speaking of trust, or the lack of it, let's talk about the money. Because Tanshin and Bao Chai, they overhaul the entire economic model of the garden. They move away from the central budget.
This is the decentralization phase. Tanshin is really worried about the Zhangfeng, the main accounting office. She knows that if the garden generates a profit, and they send that cash to the central office to be redistributed,
The money will just disappear.
it will. The text uses a pretty violent image for this. Tanshin says the stewards will peel a layer of skin.
Meaning, they'll take a cut, delay payments, make the servants beg for their own earnings.
Exactly. So Tanshin wants to cut the accounting office out of the loop entirely.
So what's the new system? It sounds a little like a franchise model.
That's a great analogy. Bao Chai proposes a closed loop. The caretakers, the women we just assigned to the bamboo and flowers, they don't just get to keep the profit. They have to assume liabilities.
Okay.
They become responsible for specific recurring costs that the main house usually pays for.
What kind of costs are we talking about?
It's surprisingly detailed. They have to pay for hair oil, face powder, incense, and paper for the rooms. They also have to cover brooms, dustpans, and this is my favorite detail feed for the birds, deer, and rabbits.
Wait, so if I'm the one growing bamboo, I now have to buy the bird seed for the master's parrots?
Yes. The logic is the house stops paying for all these small, annoying operational costs. The caretaker pays for them out of their harvest revenue, whatever's left over.
The caretaker keeps as personal profit.
Precisely.
Does the math actually work out, though?
Bao Chai does the calculation right there on the spot. She figures that by offloading these expenses, the main household saves 400 taels of silver per year.
Okay, we hear 400 taels, and we just think old money. Can you put that in perspective for us? Is that a lot?
It is a huge amount. To give you a benchmark, in the novel, a regular maid earns about 1 tael of silver per month. A higher-ranking maid might earn 2.
So 400 taels is, what, roughly 400 months of a maid's salary? That's over 30 years of wages.
Exactly. It's a massive sum to be leaking out in just bird seed and broom expenses. By saving this, they are significantly helping the family finances.
And for the caretakers, the surplus, the profit they get to keep, that's life-changing money. It incentivizes them. If they work harder, they keep more.
Right, but there's a problem there.
I see it. You've got a bunch of servants who are suddenly entrepreneurs making big money. What about everyone else?
That is the social contract problem.
Yeah.
And Bao Chai spots it immediately. She realizes this new system creates a class divide. You have the haves, the managers of the land, and the have-nots.
The servants who sweep the snow, watch the gates, the elderly chaperones who don't have the strength to farm.
And if the gatekeeper sees the bamboo manager getting rich,
There's going to be resentment and sabotage.
Bao Chai predicts it perfectly. She says the excluded servants will fake public duty to satisfy private vengeance.
What does that actually look like, practically?
It means that the gatekeeper might, accidentally leave the gate open for a stray dog to trample the vegetable patch. Or a maid might pick a few rare flowers and claim she thought they were weeds.
They'll degrade the assets out of spite, and the caretakers won't be able to stop them because those people are technically just doing their jobs.
Yes.
So how does Bao Chai stop a class war before it even starts?
She proposes a redistribution tax. She tells the caretakers, you don't get to keep all the surpluses. A portion of the profit has to be paid into a shared pool.
And that goes back to the masters.
No, and that's the absolute key. The money stays in the garden. It's distributed strictly among the non-producing servants, the gatekeepers, the sweepers, the elderly mamas.
So she's buying their cooperation.
Effectively, yes. She turns the potential saboteurs into stakeholders. She tells the caretakers, if you share the profit with them, they will become your security guards. They will make sure no one steals a single peach because that peach represents their bonus.
That is incredibly shrewd.
It's governance by non-action. She gathers all the women and gives them a speech. She basically frames it as, I am giving you a way to earn dignity and wealth. In exchange, you police yourselves. No gambling, no drinking, no fighting. If you mess this up, we go back to the old way and everyone loses.
And the servants buy it.
Immediately. They say we'd be crazy not to. It stabilizes the whole garden. You have efficiency, you have equity, and everyone is aligned. It feels like they finally solved the chaos.
Which makes the transition to the next part so jarring. We're in the middle of this triumphant management reform, spreadsheets are balanced, everyone's happy, and then boom, a knock at the door.
It is such a weird shift in the book. The Zen family from Jiangyan arrives in the capital.
And this isn't just a neighbor dropping by for tea. This is an imperial-level visit.
Right. They're in town for an audience with the emperor. They send gifts ahead of time, and the gift list is absurd. 12 bowls of palace use, makeup satin, python satin, all these gauzes. It's just opulent wealth.
Python satin sounds incredible.
It refers to the pattern, usually reserved for high officials. So it signals that this family is on the same level as the Jia family, maybe even higher. But the weirdness starts when the servants from the Zen family start chatting with Grandmother Jia.
Grandmother Jia is the matriarch, the head of the whole clan. And these 4 women from the Zen family come to pay their respects. They start talking about their family back home in the south.
And they mention that the grandmother and the grandson stayed behind. So Grandmother Jia asks, naturally, what's the grandson like?
And the description they give, it's a little too familiar.
It's uncanny. They say the boy is 13 years old. He's incredibly handsome. He's the absolute favorite of his grandmother. He's mischievous, refuses to study, and he hates meeting important men.
That is a literal point-by-point description of Jia Baoyu, the protagonist of our book.
It gets worse. They tell her his name.
What is it?
His name is Zen Baoyu.
So we have Jia Baoyu, our hero, and Zen Baoyu, the stranger.
And this is where you have to know the Chinese characters. Jia is a homophone for fake or false, and Zen is a homophone for real.
So, literally, real Baoyu and fake Baoyu.
Exactly. The women describe real Baoyu, and he is a carbon copy of fake Baoyu. Same age, same look, same personality flaws. Grandmother Jia is completely shocked. She orders her Baoyu to be brought out so the visitors can compare them.
It's such a strange note. I mean, we just spent all this time with Tanshin and Bao Chai trying to impose order on the Jia garden, counting every broom, every flower, making it real and profitable.
And then the author just zooms out and says, by the way, there was a real version of this family living a parallel life down south.
It totally undercuts the reality of the management reform. It makes you wonder, is the Grandview Garden just a reflection? Is all this effort to save 400 taels just arranging deck chairs on the Titanic?
Or, more accurately, arranging deck chairs in a dream.
It connects right back to the title, Dream of the Red Chamber. The distinction between what is real and what is illusion is the core theme of the whole book.
Meanwhile,
Have you ever, been walking down the street, or maybe you're in a crowded room and you just freeze because you swear you just saw yourself?
the doppelganger, it's a classic primal fear.
Exactly. But let's take it a step further. If you actually met your same face, same voice, everything, do you think you'd get along? Or would it just be absolutely terrifying?
That is a profound question. It really gets at the heart of identity, who we think we are, and that really unsettling feeling that Freud called the uncanny.
And believe it or not, that is exactly where we're going today.
It is.
Hmm.
We're talking about our protagonist, Jia Baoyu, and this whole mystery around another Baoyu from a different city,
The two Bayous problem, this identity crisis.
and just how strange it all gets when you meet your own reflection.
Right? And it all kicks off in a pretty normal way, actually. Just some guests arriving.
Yep. So, to set the scene, these are professional servants from a massive noble house. They're supposed to be,
Stoic. Invisible.
exactly. But the second Jia Baoyu walks in, all that training just evaporates. The text says they literally jump to their feet and start laughing. They're just stunned.
It's such a human reaction. They rush over to him, they're grabbing his hand, asking how he is. It's almost too familiar.
It is. And they say, "You scared us. If we hadn't just traveled here ourselves, we'd have sworn our own master, our Baoyu, had somehow followed us."
Wow. Imagine hearing that. You look just like my boss.
Oh, weird.
But what I find fascinating is Grandmother Gia's reaction to all this. She's not surprised at all.
No, she is completely unfazed. Grandmother Jia has seen it all. Her take is less about magic and more sociological.
Right. She basically says, is it really that strange?
She calls them deep ocean families. Her argument is that children born into these massive, wealthy, noble houses are all raised in the exact same bubble,
Pampered, sheltered.
fed the same refined foods, kept out of the sun. Her logic is, unless a child has some kind of specific disfigurement, and she uses the very biased language of the time, black and ugly, they're all going to end up looking neat and similar.
It's like a rich kid phenotype. The lifestyle actually sculpts the appearance.
That's her argument. It's kind of environmental determinism. Extreme luxury in Beijing looks the same as extreme luxury in Nanjing. It overrides genetics.
That is such a cynical and brilliant take. Of course you look alike. You're products of the same factory.
But this is where it gets good. The servants say, okay, the hardware might be identical, but the software is different.
The personality update.
Yes. They look at our Baoyu, Jia Baoyu, and they say, well, the face is the same. The mischief is apparently the same. But this one seems to have a better temperament.
Ouch. Imagine hearing that. Your double is nicer than you.
Right. So what makes the Nanjing Baoyu, the Zen Baoyu, so difficult?
Yeah, what's his deal?
Well, the servants spill everything. He's incredibly fussy. He calls them muddled. He won't let them touch his things because he thinks they're dirty. And this is a key detail. He only allows girls to wait on him.
Okay, wait. To be fair, that sounds a lot like our Baoyu, the whole girls are made of water, boys are made of mud thing.
It does. They are mirrors in more ways than one. But the servants insist the Zen Baoyu has this stubborn, weird temper that makes him impossible. They call him lawless.
I love that word, lawless. It's like he's operating on a completely different plane of existence.
He is. Hates school, burns through money, does things adults can't even imagine. He's the absolute nightmare for a Confucian family.
But Grandmother Jia, ever the doting grandmother, she jumps in to defend this other kid she's never even met.
And she totally flips the script. She thinks the servants are being fooled. She says kids from these deep ocean families, they're smart. They know the difference between inside and outside.
The public self versus the private self.
Precisely. She says even the wildest, most spoiled kid knows that when guests are over, you put on the mask. You act polite. You have to avoid being punished and to save face for the family.
And the servants confirm it.
They do. They say when guests are around, he's an angel. Perfect manners, charming. Everyone loves them. Outsiders are always asking, why would you ever punish this perfect child?
But the second that door closes,
He's back to being lawless.
the duality of the spoiled heir. A monster in private, a diplomat in public.
But then Grandmother Jia, her tone just shifts. It gets really harsh. She says a child must know inside from outside. And if they don't bring honor to their elders, if they act lawless in public, it doesn't matter how beautiful they are.
And this is where she says,
She says, quote, They deserve to be beaten to death.
Whoa, beaten to death for bad manners. That's intense.
It really highlights the stakes.
Yeah.
You're not just a kid. You're an ambassador for the family's prestige. Fail at that, and you're worthless.
So we have this vivid picture of a double living a parallel life. But what about Baoyu himself? How's he taking all this?
He is not buying it, not for a second. He's sitting there thinking this is all just a performance for his grandmother.
Yeah.
You know, that they're just flattering him.
His ego can't handle it. He's supposed to be the one and only precious jade.
Right. A copy devalues the original. But then his cousin, Shangyin, she jumps in. She's always the one to speak her mind.
And she basically tells him to stop being so narrow-minded.
She does. And she brings historical evidence. She's like, okay, look at Lin Xiangru and Sima Xiangru.
Right, for anyone who doesn't know their ancient Chinese history.
She explains it. Two different historical figures, different eras, looked totally different, but they shared the same given name, Xiangru. So point one.
Yeah.
Name twins exist.
Okay, name twins. Check.
Then she brings up Confucius and Yang Hu, a famous story. This guy, Yang Hu, looked so much like Confucius that people mistook Confucius for him and attacked him.
The face twin. Different names, identical appearance.
Exactly. So Zhang Yun's logic is flawless. We have name twins, we have face twins. Why is it so impossible for the universe to make a total twin? Same name, same face.
She basically says, if you're so lonely, go to Nanjing and find him yourself.
I love that. So Baoyu, he goes back to his rooms, and his head is just spinning. He's trapped. If I say he doesn't exist, it seems he does. If I say he does, well, I haven't seen him.
It's a paradox. And this confusion, it just knocks him out. He falls asleep.
And instantly, he's in a dream. He's in a garden.
But it's his own garden, right? The Grandview Garden.
It looks exactly like it. It's that uncanny valley thing again. The rocks, the flowers, the buildings, it's all his home. But the people are all wrong. He sees maids, but they're strangers.
And Baoyu being Baoyu, he just assumes any young woman will be friendly. He walks up, turns on the charm, and their reaction is...
Oh, it's brutal. A total reversal of his entire life. The maids look at him with complete disgust. One of them asks, how did this Baoyu get here?
But they don't mean him.
No, they're offended he's even using the name.
Yeah.
They tell him Baoyu is a sacred name, only used by their mistress and old mistress to protect their young master. For some random stranger to say it, it's taboo.
And they call him a smelly boy.
The smelly small servant. They threaten to beat him for it.
That has to be just shattering for him. His whole identity is built on girls loving him, and here he's being treated like dirt.
He literally thinks no one has ever treated me this toxically. It's his first encounter with a world that doesn't revolve around him.
So he wanders off, feeling sorry for himself, and then he finds a courtyard that looks exactly like his own, Yihong Courtyard.
He goes inside, and there it is, the moment of truth. A young man is lying on the bed, surrounded by girls, just laughing and doing needlework.
It's him, the double.
It's him. And then the boy in the bed sighs and starts talking to his maid. And what he says just completely flips the script.
He says he just had a dream.
He says, I just had a dream that I went to a garden in the capital. I met some girls there who called me a smelly boy. I found his room, but he was asleep.
Wait, what? So the other Baoyu is dreaming about our Baoyu at the exact same time.
It's a reciprocal dream. They're dreaming each other into existence. And then the dream Baoyu says something incredible. He looks at the sleeping body of our Baoyu and says, empty skin sack. I don't know where his true nature went.
Empty skin sack. Wow, that's heavy.
It's basically a Buddhist idea, right? The body is just a vessel. He sees the physical form, but since our Baoyu's consciousness is standing there watching, the body on the bed seems empty.
The soul is missing because the soul is standing right next to the bed.
Exactly. And that's when our Baoyu realizes, this isn't a dream, that's the guy. He rushes forward, he grabs his hand.
So it wasn't a dream. You are Baoyu.
It's this incredible moment of connection. The two halves meet.
And then?
The ultimate buzzkill. A voice from outside yells, the master calls for Baoyu.
And they both.
They both panic. Absolute synchronized terror. One runs away, and our Baoyu wakes up shouting, Baoyu, come back, don't go.
It's so telling. The one thing that truly unites them isn't their face or their name. It's their paralyzing fear of their father.
The master. That's the one reality that cuts through everything. It shatters the dream. It implies their real identity is just terrified son.
So Baoyu wakes up, he's shouting, come back!
He's a mess. His maid, Jiren, has to shake him awake. She's like, who are you calling for? You're Baoyu. You're right here.
And here comes the final trippy twist.
Jiren points. She tells him to look. There's a huge standing mirror right across from his bed. She says, you were looking at your own reflection.
No way. So while he was dreaming about meeting his double, he was actually just staring at himself in a mirror.
Yes. And another maid, Musha, she jumps in with this bit of household superstition that explains everything. She says Grandmother Gia forbids mirrors near the bed.
Why? Bad feng shui.
Sort of. It's about your soul. Musha says small people's souls are not complete. A child's soul is fragile. If a mirror reflects you while you sleep, it can startle the soul, trap it, cause nightmares.
Mirrors stealing souls. A classic.
But there's a practical reason, too. They usually cover the mirror, but it was hot that day, they got lazy, and they forgot.
So it was just sitting there uncovered.
Staring right at him. Musha figures he fell asleep looking at his own reflection, and that image became the other in his dream. The dream was born from the mirror.
It's a perfect loop. He denies the double exists, dreams of the double, then wakes up to find the double was just his own reflection.
Or was it? The book leaves it ambiguous. Was the mirror a portal? The maid says, you were looking at yourself calling your own name. It's like his identity fractured.
It really makes you think about how we even construct our sense of self. We spend all this time looking in mirrors.
And this story suggests that maybe that image, that empty skin sack, isn't who we really are. And if there's another one out there that looks just like you, are you still unique? Or are you just a copy?
And that the only thing that made them real to each other was this shared fear of authority. That's a pretty dark foundation for an identity.
It is. It suggests your social role, the Thun who has to obey the master, is more real than anything else.